I had a brief conversation with acting ASP Ashraf Ali before we came on air this morning, and he's actually with us now in studio because I was just briefing him. I was saying, listen, after 2 weeks of absence, it's good to see you again, sir.
It's good to be here again. It's good to be here again. Unfortunately, where's Sean?
Sean has decided to, as with most things now, artificial intelligence. So he's decided to project his opinions through. Is that the real Sean or a deepfake? I don't know. For all intents and purposes, he's with us via Zoom.
Good morning, Sean.
Yes, I have uploaded myself into the servers, into the cloud. I am now immortal as a digital construct.
You see, what concerns me is Sean being immortal. That's the only thing that concerns me. Anyway, welcome back to the program, folks. So we got in this morning into discussion with regards to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, as well as the powers of a Trinidad and Tobago police officer, simply because that question will always be there. We can explain it as much as we want. It's a lot to get into, but there are also concerns many times of abuse of power. This all goes hand in hand with building trust and confidence with the public, especially when police officers are having to carry out their duties. But the basic complaints all the time is police take advantage. Police don't care. They'll do whatever they want to do. They'll get away with it because nobody holds them to account.
And it's so true, because we have the legal power, which the relative laws give us the powers that to be with. We have what we consider to be discretionary powers. And then we have on the extreme where persons made allegations that officers may abuse those particular powers. It depends on how they view the powers to be used, right? So it's a balance. It's a balance, and it's never really seen as police officers getting it right. Always seem that we always not getting it right. And one of the things about it is that because many of the persons in the public, either they don't know our powers or they have of the opinion that our powers is too much, right? So under the Criminal Law Act 1004, we have 4 main powers. 2 as normal citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. That's where an arrestable offense has been committed, any person may arrest. So you fall in that category as a civilian, you can do an arrest. So that will come the citizen arrest. And then the second power is where an arrestable offense has been committed and who committed that offense within your view. So a civilian has 2 powers of arrest. Mm-hmm. The next 2 powers of arrest that falls under that section is where law enforcement officers, that's 2 additional powers that we have. That's where I believe that our powers get a little more unique and stronger, where that we can arrest somebody who we have reasonable cause to believe. That is the challenge sometimes, that the person's of the opinion that our reasonableness is abuse of power. Right? Mm-hmm. So we believe that you're going to commit an offense. Somebody said that you did this, you did that, we arrest you.
To what extent would you say, acting ASP Ali, given that we've had this discussion previously with respect to the enforcement of laws, and you know, let's be honest with each other, the TTPS has not been that very good in enforcing laws. And because of that level of ease and comfort that the public has experienced, I mean, in the sense that everybody complains about crime, everybody complains about guns, murders, robberies, which I'm very much all for. I understand those complaints. But some of these same people that complain will also break simple, basic laws, like breaking a red light, for example, and get away with it.
That is where we come under the power of arrest, that we normally will get a lot of conflict, or the confrontation is basically with officers on the streets, right? Under the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act, we have powers that we can do certain things. Firstly, any police officer can arrest without a warrant for dangerous driving. So if you are driving dangerously, we can arrest you. That is the view of the officer. So the officer, in conjunction with the additional powers that we have, these work tandem with each other. That we have, if it will be of the opinion that you are driving recklessly, you can be arrested.
Now, so again, sorry to interrupt you, but the point I'm trying to make is because citizens have, it seems as though the rules have been relaxed. Simple things like breaking a red light, parking on the main road, traffic violations, littering, whatever it may be, because there have not been the enforcement of such laws. When officers now in 2023 start actually arresting individuals for this, most recently we saw this thing with a registered farmer and dangerous, danger to life with having these loose items in his tree. All of these things. Now that the TTPS is looking to enforce these things, if it is they actually do, is that also where you're going to start seeing people say, well, the police are abusing their powers?
No. We have the dynamics with respect to that, because persons of your opinion, and you hear it on all these social media posts that why they are going to find the criminals? Why they are going to do this? Why they coming and checking me? Now, my question to the general public is, who are the criminals out there? We have the issue of a stolen vehicle. And the most recent find that we had in the South, where almost 100 engines which reflected to 100 vehicles. And on this program, I've told you about the type of vehicles that have been reported stolen over the past couple of months. Mm-hmm. And the find confirms that, because those are the type of vehicles that was identified. Now, how do we deal with such a situation where vehicles are on the road? Police officers need to stop vehicles on the road. Inquire from the drivers of these vehicles if they are the owner and they have documentation to support. Now, one of the things that I always say is that when an officer stops any driver on the roads of Trinidad and Tobago, the officer is not going to ask you for your driver's permit and insurance alone. No. The first thing the law states is that they ask for your name and address. And failure to comply with giving your name and address is failure to comply with our lawful instructions. Also, the law also states if you refuse to give your name and address, you can be arrested.
But your name and address is on your driver's license.
But I never asked for your driver's license. So you don't have to produce your driver's license. If I ask you what is your name and address, you can tell me your name and address. And if I ask my second question, could you confirm your name and address, and you produce your driver's license to me, does it mean that I am 100% sure that is you? That is where our power also lies. We also have, under the motive, if the officer has reason to believe that the name and address is false, we have the power to arrest and detain you and do further inquiries to determine that. That is the level and the extent of our powers. So it's not that we are abusing your power. The power is there for us to exercise. The problem that we have, or the challenge that you have, is the relaxation, as you indicate, where we have some discretionary powers, where we use some discretion at that point in time. That discretion puts us in some problems. Mm-hmm.
I want to ask, is it not just the fact that you have discretion, but I think also the fact that I don't think the population always respects the law, regardless of if there was a relaxation period for whatever reason. And, you have that whole give me a blind mentality. Of course, and then it goes back to why are you not going after the real criminals, which I don't think it's a unique feature to TNT. I think you will get that in just about every country. I'm breaking traffic laws. Well, they have murderers out there. What are you wasting your time on me for? Not necessarily appreciating the broken windows theory when, it's the little details of society that encourage the larger scale corruption. But the flip side to that is, could it be that we don't really respect the law that well because the reputation from the TTPS, it might be a chicken and the egg scenario, because it's difficult for us to have respect for the officers because of that perception, rightfully or wrongfully. We kind of take these minor laws for granted. I don't want to hear you about my driving. You know, yeah, if it's all made up, all of a sudden we want to call the police to get them to deal about it. But if it's about something minor, we don't want to see them. We don't want to see them at all. Unless it's bothering us.
And one of the thing is that generally, when you speak to you pull over a driver, you pull over somebody on the road, and you speak to them, sometimes you get the officer, I do nothing wrong. Where you stopping me for? It doesn't mean that you did anything wrong, you know. The officer has a power to check. And in order for him to check whether or not your driving documents are in order, he has to stop you. And stopping you to verify that you is in fact not doing anything wrong. Because some persons may be driving a vehicle without a driver's permit.
Is it that an officer could stop a vehicle at random?
Any vehicle.
Any vehicle at random?
Any vehicle.
So in whatever report that they issue, they don't have to necessarily state a specific reason for stopping a vehicle. We just stop this vehicle.
Right. So under the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act, we have the authority to stop a vehicle on the road and inquire. Right? Because we have reasonable, it would be reasonable to suspect that this vehicle was involved in something, or the person may have committed an offense. That is our powers. Right? The level at which some officers may exercise those powers, persons of the opinion, it's an abuse of our power, but that is a power given to us.
What about the power to search a vehicle?
Under the Firearm Act 1601, we have the power to stop any vehicle and search for firearm and ammunition. Specifically
firearm and ammunition?
And we must disclose that to the individual. Mm-hmm. And inform the individual.
Similar provisions to search for drugs, so is that kind of unofficially looped in?
Well, the power falls on the 1601, where you're searching for firearm and ammunition, and anything illegally found in the vehicle will cover and will be covered. Mm-hmm. So you have to give an account of it. Now, under the Pre-Larceny Act, we have the power to stop a vehicle and inquire from the persons if they're carrying goods for the bill of sale. How many persons really and truly have bill of sale for items purchased for goods and services? So it goes for the farmer as well as the person who they're purchasing from has to conform to that, because the police is none the wiser. The police has to inquire.
I was speaking, funny enough that you brought this up, to President of the Sales Farmers Group, Mr. Benjamin Raj, this morning earlier, where he was saying that in instances he supports exactly what you're saying. But he says when Pre-Larceny takes place, he says some of the farmers actually go to police stations to make reports. This has happened. He said one farmer has accounted that 5 times his crops were stolen. They believe it's the same individual. They've gone to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, various stations, made the reports. The police officers are not taking the reports because they're saying that how it's for the Pre-Larceny unit to actually take this report. Could you correct me if I'm wrong? Isn't the station still supposed to take the report and transfer it to the unit if necessary?
Yes, they're supposed to. Right? Any report made to any police officer, any police station, whether it falls under Pre-Larceny or otherwise, right, should be taken, mm-hmm. and must be taken.
Because he's saying that how now these are robberies. He said even these home invasions that the TTPS is simply not taking. He said they're not taking it. He says because even the unit, the Pre-Larceny unit, is not up to scratch.
Nevertheless, that they are not up to scratch. But at the same time, if he goes to a station, I urge that individual to ensure that anybody who goes to a station and make a report asks for a receipt. Yeah. Right? The officers are required to take that report and produce and give a receipt to the individual who making a report.